Going to see mostly sunny skies by the afternoon, a high of 68.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Kay's Kitchen.
The Thanksgiving table isn't complete without the turkey. This year, leave that detail to Noth's Barbecue. You can choose from smoked turkey, ham, or a whole pork shoulder. Their meat is cooked over hickory coals, low and slow, the old-time traditional way. Call to order no later than November 18th and pick up hot and ready the 25th or 26th, 10 to noon at Noth's Barbecue in Grand Rivers. Happy Thanksgiving from Noth's.
The Titans are back at home at Nissan Stadium this Sunday to face the Chicago Bears. We get you ready with Titans Countdown that begins at 11. Then voice of the Titans Mike Keith and Coach Dave McGinnis bring you all the action of Titans and Bears from Nashville. The AFC Titans versus the NFC Chicago Bears. Titans radio station.
106.5 WKDZ.
If you really enjoy the stories you hear on Traveling the Bluegrass, we'd like to invite you to listen to the whole visit uncut. Just type youragedge.com into your browser. You'll find Traveling the Bluegrass uncut stories in long form, so you don't miss a thing. You'll also find lots of ag news and farm pictures from across the Commonwealth. You can also find all the Kentucky communities that Traveling the Bluegrass can be found. Remember to visit youragedge.com.
It's time for your SportsEdge.com Sideline Report with Todd Griffin. Talking sports and more here on 1580, 103.3 WPKY and worldwide at WPKYonline.com. Here's your host, Todd Griffin.
Good morning, everyone. The Sideline Report is on the air from 1035 West Main Street in Princeton, the WPKY studios, and we thank you for joining us this morning. Going to get started on the run this morning. We're joined by Chris Ennis on the phone with us. He's the football director of Caldwell County Youth Incorporated. And Chris, first of all, good morning, and thanks for coming on the show with us.
Good morning, Todd. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. A busy week for you guys. A Junior Pro Jamboree underway.
Yes, sir. We actually started Tuesday night with our third and fourth grade team. They played over in Webster County. They got a big win that sent them to the finals. With it being an odd year with only 5 teams, we ended up having them in the finals now. And then the team I coach, the 5th and 6th grade Caldwell Tigers, are playing tonight for the right to play in the finals on Saturday.
Yeah, and you guys are the number 1 seed in your age group.
Yes, sir. We went 8-0 this year. We had a pretty successful season. We've been fortunate to be able to come out on top on every game we've played this year. There's been some close ones, but we've done pretty good in execution and just overall the kids have played well. And in a weird year, it's been an excellent season.
Well, and you can't do much better than 8-0, right?
Yeah, I mean. As the coach in me says, there's a few games there that we could have done some things differently, but the dad in me, that I have a son playing on this team, I'm extremely proud of these kids, and with everything they've gotten thrown at them since, February, March, these kids have responded really well to a little bit of normalcy in football.
Well, and even the Jamboree this week is a little different because usually that's all at one place, and this season it's kind of spread out over a week.
Yes, sir. What we decided to do this year was try to cram the schedule. We played everybody twice, something we haven't done in several years, and also to keep crowds down and to keep the large amount of people at one location, we decided to let the higher seeds actually host the first rounds of the playoffs or Jamboree, whatever you call it. That way we could keep everybody kind of dispersed and had just the championship games on one day to keep counties from doing so much, being together and leaving and coming from the stadium and stuff with the restrictions we have on us. It made it easier on us to do a home site, higher seed situation than it would have been to try to play it all on one day, even though we have less teams this year and it would have been a shorter Jamboree. This keeps us from playing on Sundays, which is important for most of us. And also it does let some of the teams generate a little bit more revenue for their programs because in a shortened, tightened season, the money that most of these guys use for next year is all generated in the year before. So that helped a lot.
Well, and you guys will be playing out at Tiger Stadium tonight, so a home game for the Tiger fans.
Yes, sir. The third and fourth grade ended up having a seed where they had to go on the road, but we were fortunate enough to be the number one seed in the fifth and sixth, so we get to host a game tonight. We start at 6 o'clock at Tiger Stadium. We're the only game tonight. We are looking forward to congratulations to Union County. They had a kind of a tough season, but here lately they've gotten hot, and I think they won 2 of their last 3, and for the right to play us tonight, they beat a Webster County team that was a pretty good football team. So they come into Tiger Stadium tonight looking to get another big win, but we hope we got something to say about that.
And can anybody come out and watch tonight?
Sure. It's our season all year long has been open as far as coming out. Tickets are on sale at the gate. The only gate that will be open is the visitor side. We've tried to limit that down to be able to get temperature checks on everyone. Masks are required inside Tiger Stadium. But as far as anybody wanting to come, general admission is right there at the gate. You'll get your temperature checked. You'll get in, get to see a great football game. Hopefully you get to watch Caldwell County pull out a win.
And a win sends you guys to the championship. And like you said, the third and fourth grade team already has advanced to the championship. So those games are coming up Saturday in Sturgis, right?
Yes, sir. They're coming up Saturday. And also on our third and fourth grade team, they had a rough start to the season. They had a bunch of young kids. They've done really well. Carl Copeland, Jeremy Dalton, Dwight Meeks, Cray Lewis. They've molded those young men and really turned their season around as of late, and are beating teams that beat them early in the year and are coming back with, roaring back into the playoffs. They're getting hot, so to speak, at the right time. They have done a great job over the years. Carl Copeland's helped Caldwell County football out for years now. Jeremy Dalton's always kind of been his helper, his assistant coach, and along with Dwight and Cray, they've really turned that third and fourth grade group around, and they got some great players, but they've come together as a team. They've won games, close games, but they've won them by execution and good coaching.
Well, that's kind of the hope, though, right? When you go into a season that wherever you start, by the end of the year, you're a whole lot better, however many wins that ends up being?
Yeah, after this many years of doing it, I try to put more emphasis on team improvement than team wins. I've had years where I thought our team got way better through the year, but maybe it didn't result in wins or losses or wins. As a little league team, we pride ourselves on being an instructional league. We keep score. We want to win. There's nobody out there that don't want to win. But we do put a lot of emphasis on kids getting better. I've been doing this long enough now to fortunate enough to see several senior classes graduate that I had a small part in. I know Carl has been around long enough to see those same kids. Jeremy's been around several years. It's kind of a sense of pride, so to speak, to be able to go out on Friday night and, kids that are starting that for the high school team was on your football team for one or multiple years, and you feel, ingrained in Caldwell County football. With that said, you have a small part anyway, but those kids seeing you in Walmart, seeing you in town, seeing you at the games, hollering, "Hey, coach," is pretty much the kind of the pinnacle of what we do. I mean, if we were doing this for money, we would be way in the hole by this point, and none of us get paid, and it's just for the love of the game.
Well, and the postseason Jamboree week is always a big week for the junior pro teams. Usually it's even a bigger week in Caldwell County because typically we would have 2 teams in both of these.
Yes, sir. And this year with the pandemic going on, we didn't have as many kids come out. Now we have split our teams for 11 years, or 12 years, I guess. And we've been really successful. Now we have played several years with some of our best opponents on the opposite Caldwell team. There's been a couple of years where it ended up being Caldwell, and that tells you how dominant we could have been over the years. I know teams, Crittenden and most of the other teams around the league, they only have one team, and I've only had one team year in, year out. With us splitting our teams, that's ended up letting us put more kids through the program, get them on the field. We may take our lumps a little bit in junior pro, but it showed in the middle school. I think the middle school record stands for itself over the last 10 to 12 years. We've been really good at that level and really good in the high school level, really, for a small county in Kentucky. We've been pretty fortunate to get a lot of good players come through. With that said, Caldwell football is a little bit different. Most people would tell you Caldwell travels really well. There's a lot of support for Caldwell football. But this year with the pandemic going on, we could not split them. So we've only had one team in both groups, but we still don't have a large number. I'm hoping that, being this is my last year, I'm hoping that we can go back to splitting teams, have enough in the years coming up that, normally we had about 50, which put about 25 per team in each group. And that would be great if the numbers come back up. But with what's going on now, nobody really knows how long this is going to be back around. There were several kids that didn't come out this year that have played football in the past. There are several kids that stayed out of football because of the pandemic, and there are several kids that stayed out due to some league restrictions on weight limits and stuff like that generally come back and play middle school football.
Well, and you're right. It's kind of a competitive disadvantage to have those two teams at the junior pro level. But, again, you mentioned the middle school and then the high school. I like to think that the reason the Tigers have long winning streaks against teams like Crittenden County and Trigg County at the high school level is because all those kids were developed and maybe even in some cases maybe took their lumps just a little bit down at junior pro.
Yeah, sure. I know this year, in the beginning of the year, we had some teams that had some kids in quarantine, and the talk amongst the commissioners was how hard it was to win with 4 to 6 of your starters out. The one thing I commented back on was welcome to Caldwell football, because every year we take the top 6 to 8 kids in the league and we split them and put them on different teams. So some of the teams that only have one team and have had one team historically, Caldwell's a little more suited for that because half the time half of our talent would be on the opposite team, but yet we were still able to compete against these guys. I know some of the other commissioners have had kids out in quarantine, and with those talks with them, sometimes they forget that with us splitting our talent and still being competitive over the last 10 to 12 years, we're a little bit better suited for maybe a pandemic than most because we're used to playing without, 4 to 6 of our starters that would start and be some of the best kids in the league, but they're on an opposite team for Caldwell. But that only makes it better when they come back as middle schoolers and they play each other, they get together and then they go play a team like Crittenden or Union County or whoever it is. And those teams that have only had one team for years, they're locked into 10 to 15 kids. We're locked into 20 to 25 kids. That makes it way better for kids going up and graduating bigger senior classes.
Yeah, and it has been a weird year because of the COVID-19 situation, but, thank goodness we actually got to have a season, though.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing that we got this on. And I would like to thank all the other commissioners in the league. We've had to move games. We've had games canceled. We've had to postpone games. We've had to play away when we were supposed to play at home. We had to play at home when we were supposed to be away. Everybody's really worked together to get the season in. At first, when we set up the season, we was going to play each other twice. That way, if we got to a point in the season where it got shut down, we'd get the most games bang for our buck, so to speak. We've actually been fortunate to get all 8 games in and the first round of the playoffs. Now, we're hoping tonight goes off without a hitch, and we're hoping we get to Saturday and we have a fully completed season, and that's no short of a miracle with teams and counties and states shutting fall sports down. We've been really fortunate in our small area to keep incidents pretty low. I think we've only had a handful of kids from each team that's been affected by COVID. With that said, I'm not too sure we've had a positive case at all. I'd have to ask some of the other people, but I know we've been contacts. I know we've had contacts on just about every team, but nobody's been really a positive case. So we've been really lucky at keeping our core groups together and keeping them healthy. And we've implemented, temperature checks and hand sanitizers and stress to the kids to stay healthy, to stay away from people as much as they can. They're 10, they're 8 to 12-year-old kids. I mean, their whole day is follows around, let's go play something, whether it be basketball, football, whatever it is. And we've just been real fortunate to get in this season.
Yeah, there have definitely been some challenges this year, but from what I've seen, even the youngsters have kind of just taken everything in stride this year, and if there's a change, they just kind of roll with it.
Kids are more resilient than adults in that respect. We worry about it all day, every day, and the kids show up, and they have no clue what was worried about that day. They just want to play football. They want to play ball. They want to play any sport that they're doing. They don't see a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, so they don't care. I mean, they for the love of the game, they go out and play football. And maybe sometimes they didn't know how close we were to actually losing a game or two as far as not being able to play them. But kids as a whole are resilient, man. The more you feed them, the more they learn. The more you put at them, the more they can take. It's been pretty amazing, or nothing short of a miracle, with what our kids have responded to since March, and really took it in stride when a lot of people were worried to death about what it was going to do to our kids. And it has affected them. Do not get me wrong. It's affected them, but they really have responded well and just kind of shrugged it off and let's go play.
Yeah, just about to the end of the season with the Junior Pro Jamboree this week, and again the championships up at Sturgis on Saturday. Now, am I right? Is Caldwell County in line to host the Jamborees next season?
Yes, sir. Yeah, Caldwell County will host a Jamboree next year. I'm hoping that whoever takes the program over, which has been rumored that Dwight Meeks is going to do that, I'm hoping that goes smooth for them. I'm hoping it's a big money maker for Caldwell. Every dime that we've made in the last 12 years have all went back into the program. We've gotten better at earmarking our money for football to stay with football. Just some of the improvements we've been able to do for next year will be, generated from that hosting a Jamboree. Hopefully COVID has a vaccine or has something to the point to where we can have normal football games and host stuff and big events, because these kids thrive off of showing up in the morning and seeing everybody playing football. They really dig the fact that they're the only show in town. It's big for them, and I think our kids need that break. Next year with hosting a Jamboree, what that affords you to do is maybe improve on equipment or maybe improve on facilities or whatever it may be. It just helps to solidify your program for years to come. In most years we have 6 teams in this league, so it's every 6 years before you host one of those. And most teams make the lion's share of their money the year they host that Jamboree. Once that's over, then, it's pretty much on gate and concessions just to get by until you host another one. But hopefully next year it goes smooth, hopefully with some of the field usage problems we've had in the past, some of the deals with, opposing counties and all this red state, blue state, whatever, red county, whatever it is. Hopefully all that goes away so we can just play football. Amen.
Let's hope that by this time next year there's no more COVID talk, but I think everybody's done a great job this year, though, of getting seasons in. We had youth baseball and softball, and
sure.
Now got the football season in. And you were mentioning the Jamborees and how much money that takes in. I don't think the average person realizes just how much money when you hold one of those things. And in a typical year, and you get to have all those games at your place, and you get concessions and gate and all that, and that's a big boost to everybody's programs.
Sure it is. It's a big boost to the program, and it's a big boost to the kids to have a little pride and say they hosted that. Most kids get to do it at least once, with it being a 6-year turnaround. Some of them don't get to, but most kids are a part of at least one of them. And we take that money and do improvements. And the kids really thrive in a tournament setting. I know that a lot of people with travel baseball, travel basketball, we are a semi-travel sport, I guess you could say. But with that said, the tournaments are different. People feel it's just got a different feel in the air, and it's a big boost to your program.
Well, Chris, good luck to you guys tonight, and good luck getting everything in the Jamboree wrapped up and putting a bow on the season.
Well, thank you, Todd. I want to thank a couple of people that have helped me run this program for a few years now. Kyle Rogers has been a big help. I couldn't do it without him and Brian Perkins and their wives. They really helped me a lot doing the stuff that nobody else sees. It comes down to taking the garbage out after everybody leaves or setting up the field before everybody gets there. Those two guys have been really instrumental in helping me do that. This year, a former Tiger quarterback, Caleb Perkins, has come out and helped us with running the offense. We've actually instilled the exact same offense that the middle school and high school run. He's been real instrumental in getting my 5th and 6th graders to the point where they're at 8-0. They're also Michaela Lewis is our new cheer director. They got a showcase next weekend or this weekend coming up too, in between the 3rd and the 4th grade and the 5th and 6th grade games. Everybody needs to get out and support those girls. They put a lot of work in. They really try to get these girls to a point to where they can forward their career by cheering on in middle school and high school. I've been fortunate enough to be around this group of 6th graders since they were 2nd graders, and it's been one of my favorite groups. But it just takes a lot of people to put one of these on. That's one thing a lot of people don't understand is how many people it takes to put on a Saturday game. Normally it's 6 to 8 people, and they're all doing something that they're not getting paid for, and they're all helping out to put on a program of Caldwell County football. We're fortunate in Caldwell County to be well supported, but without the people that I've mentioned, Carl, years past, Matt Wilson's been a big help in years past, but Carl, Jeremy, Kyle, Brian Perkins, Caleb Perkins. I even coached back when Chris Cochran and David Fagan was helping me. Guys throughout the years, this is my last year. I'm hanging it up after this year. I've been fortunate to be around people that's made me successful. It wasn't I made myself successful. It was the people around me and the people that have helped me along the way. For years, Mr. Football in Caldwell County was Steve Coquico. We looked to him to lead our program and show us kind of the way to go. And then once I took over, I tried to do everything, kind of the way he did it. But I'm really thankful for the people that have helped me along the way. And I'm tickled to death in one way that, we're going to be in the Jamboree this weekend, but it's kind of bittersweet too because this will be it for me. And it's a big part of my life. Has been a big part of my life for several years now.
All right, Chris. Appreciate you taking some time with us this morning. And again, good luck to you guys this week.
All right. Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Go Tigers.
That's Chris Ennis. He is the football director for Caldwell County Youth Incorporated. We appreciate him taking some time to join us here on the Sideline Report this morning. We'll be back with more after this timeout here on 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
West Kentucky Real Estate and Auction holds monthly auctions at the Auction Center on U.S. Highway 62 in Princeton in the former Hancock's grocery store. Be sure to check their website for dates and times and listings of auctions and days at the Auction Center. WestKentuckyRealEstate.com has all of their upcoming auctions listed. If you would like to have an auction or would like to find out how to consign at an auction, contact West Kentucky Real Estate and Auction. Wayne Boyd, broker auctioneer.
Winter's creeping our way. It's time to button up your car, truck, and SUV with a pre-winter inspection from Trice Hughes' service department. They'll do a multi-point inspection of your vehicle, including checking your antifreeze, wiper blades, battery, and more. Time to get ready for Old Man Winter with Trice Hughes.
Trice Hughes is here for you and any questions you may have about your vehicle. Buy your next vehicle from the home team. Find them on Highway 91 North, Princeton, or at tricehughes.com.
You're invited to celebrate Veterans Day with Taco John's of Princeton. To honor veterans, Wednesday, November 11th, those who have served or are currently serving in the military will eat free. Taco John's will allow veterans and their immediate family members to eat inside while practicing social distancing and wearing masks. Taco John's in Princeton wants to thank all who have served.
Community leaders around the area are supporting the greatest comeback of all time.
And I know that all of our local businesses are supporting each other and doing the best we can to get our community back together and back in working order. So thank you all so much.
Just try and get back to some sort of normality again, have something to eat and socialize. I think a big part of it is people just missing socializing with people, even if it is 6 foot apart. I mean, you just to be back out again and doing things, it was good. So yeah, we've been busy and we've been getting a lot of good support. It's certainly worth it, and I mean, and to thank the city as well. When we opened, they give us outdoor tables that we can use as well, because obviously you can have the outdoor dining with the restrictions that are still inside. So, and it's nice to have some outdoor seating around Hopkinsville here. I think people enjoy it, and it's nice to just see some activity in the streets.
The greatest comeback of all time is underway. Continue supporting local. Together, we can make a difference.
We continue on the Sideline Report here on 1580, 103.3 WPKY. Thanks for tuning in on this Thursday morning. Again, thanks to Chris Ennis from Caldwell County Youth Incorporated for joining us this morning on the show. I do want to tell you that this week's Caldwell County High School football game over at Christian County has been canceled. Third time this year the Tigers have had a football game canceled. So for right now, at least no football game this week for Caldwell County. However, we will have football on the air here on WPKY tonight, one way or the other. If we don't have a live football game, we will have a Caldwell County Classic football broadcast on the air Friday night right here on WPKY. As always, our football coverage begins following the 5 o'clock news on Friday with your Sports Edge Football Friday. And then we'll have a classic broadcast for you. We'll let you know more about that as we get closer. Hopefully the Tigers can find a game this week, but if not, again, we will have that classic broadcast for you right here on WPKY. Want to say congratulations to the Caldwell County Lady Tiger volleyball team on their successful season, finishing the year 19-6 and second region champions. The Lady Tigers falling to McCracken County 3-1 on Monday in a first-round match in the KHSAA State Volleyball Tournament, which was played out here at the Cab. But still a great season for the Lady Tigers and another second region championship for that squad. We're going to take a break and be back with more on the Sideline Report here in just a bit here on 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Brantley Furniture.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast. Clouds on the decrease through the day today. Going to see mostly sunny skies by this afternoon, a high of 68. Tonight, mostly clear skies down to 43. Sunshine through the day tomorrow, reaching a high of 69. Clear skies by tomorrow night down to 45. Sunny skies on Saturday, a high of 72. Mostly sunny, 74 on Sunday. Decreasing clouds through the day today. Going to see mostly sunny skies by the afternoon, a high of 68.
Make your plans now to attend the Princeton Caldwell County Chamber of Commerce Holiday Open House. Get started on your Christmas shopping at Cozy Living Interiors and Boutique, Brantley Furniture, the Cat's Tail Used Books, and West Market. It's all happening this weekend, November 7th and 8th for the Princeton Caldwell County Chamber of Commerce Holiday Open House.
It's that special time of year, hunting season. Hi, Jenny here from Big Deals. While many of you are out bagging that buck, I prefer a different kind of bag, as in a shopping bag. Today is a special day for you bargain hunters. Make any purchase on your Big Deal store today and save an additional 15% off your entire purchase. No code needed. So jump on your computer or phone right now and hunt down those savings.
Click on Loyal Listener Big Deals at WPKYonline.com.
This is the Sideline Report on 1580, 103.3 WPKY, Princeton, Kentucky. Thanks for joining us this morning. Got a big surprise for everybody now as the Caldwell County Stat Crew guys are going to join us on the show. We're going to keep the phone line busy this morning. Chris George and Gary Goodaker both joining us. And guys, good morning. Thanks for being on the show.
Good morning, Todd.
Yes, good morning.
Hey, we actually made this work, guys. We got both of you on one line. That's awesome.
Technology. I mean, what can you say?
It's a very 2020 thing for us to do.
Just glad we could make this work out. And first of all, no game this week for the Caldwell County Tigers, at least as of right now. Christian County kind of pulling the plug on a part of its season, at least until the postseason. So kind of leaves us with an open Friday night again.
Oh, well, I know the boys want to play, but, you can make an argument you're going to be fresh for the playoffs.
Well, the other question you've got to get to is this is the time where if you're going to make sure that you are absolutely 100% following every detail to not derail a potential playoff game, they're going to have to make sure whatever protocols they've been following, that these young men take care of business at a higher level or their season will end prematurely.
Well, and it's going to be interesting because the Tigers will go to Murray next week for the playoff opener, and Caldwell County lost an overtime game to Murray, lost a 1-point game down at Mayfield. However, maybe this is the year that the Tigers catch a break or two in the playoffs, and who knows, maybe go down to Murray and pick up a big win and, give Mayfield a tussle again.
Well, flip the script from 2019. Caldwell County Tigers went to Murray, won a very hard-fought game, but basically did not have the same juice when they hosted Murray in the playoffs. Potentially, we are the ones who lost the hard-fought game at home, forcing us to go there. You never know. It's hard to beat a good team twice, and I think we're a good team, so maybe this is the motivation we need to flip the script.
What I was looking at, fellas, was looking at standings and so forth, and how crazy is it to think, how 2020 is of it to think Mayfield was probably considered, they went to overtime with Murray, and we were in a position to win that game at the end. It's crazy to think Mayfield maybe was 2 or 3 plays from being the number 3 seed in our district, and when has Mayfield ever been the number 3 seed?
Yeah, that's sort of the Mayfield mystique, though. That's how they pull those games out.
When you look at the 2A top 10, it's very concentrated in 2 districts. Caldwell, Murray, and Mayfield are widely considered 3 of the best 10 teams in 2A. And you've also got Danville, Somerset, Lexington Christian, which I believe is the 4th district, and they're widely considered 3 of the best teams in 2A. So one interesting thing is whoever gets out of our district and whoever gets out of that District 4 of the top 10 teams in 2A are gone because they're not going to make it out of the district play. And you've got a 3rd district that's very weak. I don't think they have a team in the top 10. And Hancock and Ocath played basically a very close game, and only one of them is going to make it out. When you get to the West Final Four, assuming you have no COVID concerns, it's going to be a very interesting thing because, Todd, are they still doing what they did last year where whoever gets to round 3 is seeded by RPI?
Yeah, that's as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, that's the way the playoffs are going to go.
Well, that's going to be very interesting because the teams that get out of our district and the 4th district, by virtue of beating 2 good teams, will probably have the best RPI and in all likelihood will host their round 3 games. So I really believe that for all intents and purposes, Caldwell was down 1 point after regulation in its 2 losses, tied and lost by 1. Anything could happen. If Caldwell somehow gets out of the district, I believe they can get a home round 3 game against a team that is beatable, either the 2nd district or the 3rd district. So there's a lot to play for because getting out of the district this year, in essence, getting to round 3 gives you a path to semi-state.
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking as well, Gary, that once again I will rage against this current playoff setup because you look at Caldwell, Murray, Mayfield, we're going to beat each other up in the first 2 weeks of the playoffs instead of getting to play cross-district against another team. And, two of our teams one of our teams is going to go out the first couple of weeks. And that's last man standing where, in reality, 2 of these 3 teams probably deserve to be playing in the regional final, and they're going to be out at all but one. Only one of them is going to make it that far, when really you could think 2 of the 3 of them could have reasonably been playing for a regional final because they're all 3 very evenly matched and are probably better than all of the District 2 teams.
Yeah, I hope they look at that again at some point in the future. Maybe this year because of COVID, maybe it works out a little better. It's a little better situation, but yeah, I wish the coaches and the KHSAA or whoever gets to make that final call would take a look at that again. But, Chris, you mentioned how close Mayfield was to dropping a couple of games, but if you look at Caldwell's season, the Tigers are just a play or two away from being 5-1 right now, and you take away some of the turnovers over at Hopkinsville, and that game would have been, right there too. So it could be a whole lot different scenario the Tigers were looking at with just, change a play or two.
Correct. UK's former coach Rich Brooks says something that I say week to week about football, whether it's high school, college, or pro. Rich Brooks would always say on the post game for the Cats, 4 plays decides every football game. So no matter what the score is, at the end of the game, if you go back and you look at 4 plays, and that's going to dictate what the final score ended up being, and that is so true of Caldwell's season. A flip of one play is what got that game out of control at Hopkinsville. It's very easily breaking away for a kickoff return for a touchdown, ends up being a fumble, and ends up now you're down in a 14-0 hole. I mean, football is so crazy that it just flips on one play, and Coach Brooks always said every game flips on 4 plays. So that's how I analyze every football game, is what 4 plays led to this being the final score. And you can usually clearly look back and find those 4 plays, and that's so indicative of what's happened to the Tigers this year. Very easily could be setting at would you say 5-1, Todd?
Yeah, it could be 5-1. You look at the Mayfield game, that was 21-20. You look at the Murray game, that was 41-34 in overtime, and Caldwell was so close to getting in the end zone in their possession in overtime, and we might still be playing that game, but that's how close it is to getting a win sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'm getting too philosophical, but we say 4 plays virtually decide most games. I can see that point. But kids, I think, have that reset button on their PS4, and I don't think they go through many scenarios until this level where one play that you don't get a second chance on very often decides things. I believe that kids have to grow and learn and mature, but I don't think they're put in situations very often where they have to perform and this is their one chance. I don't know if I'm grumpy old man on the lawn here, but we've gone through scenarios in our life where this one decision has crucial impacts. Kids haven't gone through many situations where they are put on the spot and this is the make or break decision for something crucial. So it's hard for us to realize that in our lives we've gone through those things, but that's their proving ground for life. So it's tough to go through, but they're young people, and I hope that these situations make them better in the long run, and I actually hope they make them better in the short run, that the pain they felt from the Mayfield and Murray losses gives them that extra motivation to prepare and to be situationally ready for the scenario that might be one of those 4 plays.
Talking this morning with Gary Goodaker and Chris George here on the show. Need to get to another break, but we'll be back with those guys after this here on 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Health First Community Health Center.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast. Clouds on the decrease through the day today. Going to see mostly sunny skies by this afternoon, a high of 68. Tonight, mostly clear skies down to 43. Sunshine through the day tomorrow, reaching a high of 69. Clear skies by tomorrow night down to 45. Sunny skies on Saturday, a high of 72. Mostly sunny, 74 on Sunday. Decreasing clouds through the day today. Going to see mostly sunny skies by the afternoon, a high of 68.
Need cash fast? ABC Finance is open with social distancing implementations in place. They believe it's more important now than ever to get a handle on your finances.
Hi, this is Jody Lamb at the Princeton ABC Finance location.
And this is Todd Morse at the Hopkinsville location.
At ABC Finance, we don't just provide loans, but we also provide valuable advice to help you get your credit in better standing.
Our friendly team of professionals has your best interest in mind. We celebrate with you when your finances improve.
We encourage you to like our Facebook page, ABC Finance Company. Many of those useful tips are posted daily on our page, including tons of community info and motivation for the day.
To view social distancing guidelines and safety measures, like and follow ABC Finance Company on Facebook. ABC Finance is located off Fort Campbell Boulevard in Hopkinsville next to O'Charlie's, then Princeton and the Princeton Plaza. Apply for loans online or simply give them a call. They'll take your application over the phone. ABC Finance, all loans subject to normal credit approval.
This is the Sideline Report on 1580, 103.3 WPKY. Thanks for tuning in this morning. Thanks to Chris Ennis for joining us earlier. He's the Caldwell County Youth Incorporated Football Director. Right now we're talking to Chris George and Gary Goodaker, and those guys are joining us from their day jobs. I'm actually keeping them away from work right now, but guys, glad you could join us and talk a little sports today. And, you know, we've almost made it through the fall sports season for the high school teams, and there was a point where I wasn't even really sure we were going to get to have a season.
Well, now we have to think mostly, except for football, about preparing for winter sports because according to the calendar, the high school basketball season was scheduled to start in about, 18 days?
Yeah, the week before Thanksgiving.
But, of course, Christian has shut down winter and spring conditioning / practices. Others have done the same. Where are we standing on this?
Well, first of all, the basketball season this year was actually pushed up a week to begin with because Rupp Arena was not available for the state tournament on the usual weekend. So they were going to try to get a quick start, which this was probably a tough year to try to do that. The way COVID came around and kind of changed everyone's plans. I think it's going to be really difficult for the high school basketball season, especially when you see COVID numbers increasing across the state. I think it's going to be difficult for the high school basketball season to get started on time.
Well, you know, I was very impressed that they, for the most part, they powered through football, and the institutions seemed to do what they needed to do to make sure the players got out to play. They made through soccer. Being an outdoor sport helps a little bit. Made it through. Looks like they're going to make it through volleyball. But with these numbers upticking, I think it's going to be really, really, really tough on basketball to get up and going because you can't put them in a bubble like the NBA did or the TBT. So I think it's going to be tough. And then you've got a lot of districts just pulling the plug. I believe Jefferson County didn't yet pull the plug on everything for several weeks. So I think it's going to be really tough. And just look at how it's happened with football. I mean, here we are on a Thursday, still trying to find a game for tomorrow night. I believe basketball is going to be even crazier as far as you might not know 48 hours out who you're going to play the next 2 days. So I think it could be really, really, really hard on basketball, maybe harder on basketball than any other sport.
Well, when you look at the football schedule, a lot of teams have opted out this week. In some cases, the school districts have kind of forced their hand there where they can't play. In other cases, I think teams are just trying to, take this week off and protect everyone the best they can because they really want to play in the playoffs next week.
Well, the thing you've got to think about with basketball is the frequency of games, the doubleheader aspect, the tournament aspect. These tournaments are big money makers over the Christmas season, and you've got teams on top of teams on top of teams. That's not going to be feasible this year. But I've been cynical. Well, let's just go all the way, full Chris George mode here. As long as KSSAA gets 6 state championship games and a Sweet 16 or two, actually both of them, that's their money. If the games are canceled during the middle of January, that's the school losing money. The state, as long as 16 teams from 16 regions can show up, they'll have a boys' Sweet 16, and as long as 16 girls' teams show up, they'll have a girls' Sweet 16, and they'll charge the money, and they won't have to pay back any contracts for advertising, concessions, etc. And Kroger Field will be socially distanced regardless for high school. They just need 2 teams to show up. 12 teams, 6 classes, make the money.
This is the Sideline Report on 1580, 103.3 WPKY, Princeton, Kentucky. Again, thanks for joining us, talking with Chris George and Gary Goodaker. And from the people I've talked to so far, a lot of coaches and administrators think it's going to be after Christmas before we see high school basketball or maybe even high school wrestling. I've seen schedules for a lot of schools come out. You know, they're putting things together and trying to move forward as if there will be a season. And, of course, this is all just conjecture at this point. So you know, not throwing anything out there that's been decided or anything. It's just it seems like the prevailing thought among the coaches that I've talked to so far seem to think that maybe after Christmas they can get a season going for basketball, maybe get about 15 games in.
No, that's gonna hurt a lot of schools financially. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, you know, and so many schools just aren't as fortunate as some schools, especially your smaller schools, aren't as fortunate as Caldwell to have the kind of support that Caldwell gets from the community. And I just believe at some schools that's just going to be absolutely devastating to their finances of their athletics, because it's things like football and basketball that fund softball, baseball, track, cross country, golf, tennis. You know, it's the same model, and it's just going to really destroy athletic budgets. And, you know, I know a lot of people fall on different sides of this thing about whether they should be playing, they shouldn't be playing. But there's a lot, and, you know, Gary, as an educator, there's a lot of kids that they go to school so they can do their extracurriculars. And there's a lot of kids who stay engaged and do well in school so they can play sports. And many of these students, they're not going to, you know, after they play their varsity years, they're probably never going to get that opportunity to play again. So I really hate this for the students that it's continuing to affect and impact them getting to play the games they love.
A lot of students have an issue with the fact that eligibility is what keeps them basically on a path toward graduating. And you can make the argument, oh, well, if that's the only reason they're learning, are they really learning? Well, number one, I don't know if it is or isn't. I'm looking at results. And number two, they're kids. Maybe they later decide they want to achieve something, and then they go, oh, well, I'm glad I did at least do my best because now I'm mature enough to move on from it. I mean, how many people have we seen over the years that were just didn't, you know, almost look like, you know, goofballs in high school, but they had it in them, and somehow sports or band or whatever got them through to when they could mature, and then the light bulb clicks on, not intellectually, but maturity-wise, and then they make their moves, and you find out later, wow, that goofball turned out pretty good.
Well, just like late bloomers.
Oh, yeah.
Late, and they mature late, and it all clicks late. And just that whole notion of, for some people, they do better when they get to college than they did in high school.
Well, I could go on about late bloomers in many things, academically, athletically, but we could have another show about that.
Well, a couple of things about COVID, though. I mean, first of all, thankful that we got to have any season at all because everybody got to have a senior night. There was football homecoming, so that at least gives you some sense of normalcy a little bit. At the same time, though, I hated that we couldn't get the big crowds out there. I think back to Hall of Fame night the other night, typically, especially with Trigg County coming in, Tiger Stadium would have been packed. Go back to Monday, the Lady Tigers are playing McCracken County here in what is a state tournament game for volleyball. That gym should have been packed. And while the people out there made a lot of noise, it was a great atmosphere. It was a great night, except, you know, Caldwell didn't get the win, but other than that, everything about it was, you know, super. But you just imagine what it would have been like if that gym had been packed the other night for that match.
I definitely think that that's going to hit basketball more than any other sport, because volleyball during the regular season, basically the gym capacity was sufficient. But for big doubleheader nights against district rivals, I know that that's going to be where the gate is going to really hurt. You're going to have fewer games and fewer dollars per game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough for them to play boy and girl doubleheaders. I think you're probably going to see the attendance even cut back a little bit more in the gym from what it was for volleyball. So I think, again, those are just some of the things, and I mentioned it with Chris Ennis earlier, that it seems to me like everybody has done a great job of just kind of taking everything in stride this season. It's not perfect, but everybody wants to play and get those games in, and there's just a lot of different things you have to do now that, a year ago or 2 years ago, you didn't even think about.
And I will say this, I'm a spring sport parent. I really hope that the state does whatever possible to get the spring sports to not lose 2 seasons.
That would be just absolutely unfortunate if they ended up having to lose 2 seasons. And I agree with you, Gary, and I'm a spring sports official and a lover of baseball and softball, and I really, really, really hope they're already thinking proactively, even if it requires pushing the season back a little bit and maybe not starting till April and playing into a little bit earlier June, and you only get 10 or 15 games. I really hope they do something.
Well, baseball and softball have an advantage that the winter sports don't. As least baseball and softball, you're outside, so there's it's a little easier to pull that off. When you're talking about having a basketball match or big basketball game in a gym or a big wrestling tournament, that's tough to pull off because it's inside.
Right. All the spring sports are outside, so they've got that advantage. And they have the advantage of time in that hopefully therapeutics, vaccinations. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, if you delay to April 5th is quite a ways away. I mean, about 5 months away. 5 months ago, where were we? Think about that. That was June. We hadn't even started youth sports again at the Youth Incorporated. So think where we were 5 months ago. 5 months from now, a lot can happen.
Yeah, 5 months ago, I wasn't sure when we were going to see any sports.
Correct.
So, like I said, I'm kind of torn. I'm tickled to death that we actually got to play some sports and everybody got to have that season. But I really feel like, and I've mentioned this before, I think the reason that schools and the KHSAA and everyone fought so hard to try to have fall sports seasons is because they know what it was like to tell those spring sports kids, I'm sorry, but you can't play this year. And I think anyone involved in sports didn't want to have to stand up before another group of kids, any other teams, and say, hey, I'm sorry, but you can't play this year.
Have you seen anything about wrestling protocols with mats and the weighing procedures? And I really wonder how you could do anything more than a dual match.
No, I haven't seen anything yet, but again, that's going to be a challenge, and just basketball is going to be a challenge. One of the first things we heard when they started talking about basketball was that they were going to do away with the opening tip-off, because they didn't want the players and the referees especially, in close quarters like that. So, maybe some other concessions had to be made along the line so that we can actually go ahead and have a season.
But the question you have to ask in basketball when the coin flip is simple. Do you defer?
I want the ball to start the second half.
Well, I've always thought they should just give the ball to the visiting team and let's play,
I know. That was a joke.
I fell for it, too, because I was like, of course I want the ball to start the second half.
So it's going to be interesting to see where we go, but, again, one more time, I think everybody's done a great job of doing what they need to do, and I'm not sure what else anybody can do if a team can't play and you have to find another game or you just have to take the week off like we've seen in football. I think that's just what has to happen and what you have to do.
Well, I commend all the coaches in soccer, volleyball, and football for what they've done. I hope that the players look back fondly on the fact that they got to play and that they thank their coaches for what they did, and they thank their administrators and their parents, and realize the sacrifices that were made and the hard decisions they had to make. They could have just said no. They could have thrown their hands up and said it was too hard, but they did not. So when you look at it from that perspective, it was quite an endeavor that they undertook.
Well, and I'll say this about the community. Once again, our community, because, Princeton's always going to be home for me, no matter where I go. But once again, to come to Princeton on Fridays, to go to the games with you guys and do stats and everything, once again, it tells me so much about Princeton, and that's why I speak so fondly of Princeton no matter where I go, is because that community, our community, whether it was the boys for basketball or for football, the ladies for soccer and volleyball, the boys for soccer, the community wrapped their arms around those teams, and the community is like, we're here to support you and help you with whatever you need to see you get through this. And even though they didn't get the big crowds that Caldwell's used to having, the support was still there from the community, whether it was the day, I don't think it was called the Day of Giving that the radio station did, but the day to lend financial support, buying masks from the different teams. Once again, Caldwell County did its thing and supported its athletes, supported its kids, and that's what makes Caldwell County great.
Hey, guys, I know you got to get back to work. I appreciate you taking time and coming on the show this morning, and you guys got anything to add before we get out of here?
You just took my great final statement, Todd. I don't have anything after that.
Yeah, I should have just wrapped it up off of that, shouldn't I?
I thought you were. I was like, okay, I made a great final statement, and Todd's going to wrap on that. But
all right, guys, I appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
That is Chris George and Gary Goodaker, and we appreciate them taking time out from their real jobs to come on the radio with us this morning here on the Sideline Report. Also, thanks to Caldwell County Youth Incorporated Football Director Chris Ennis. Again, football at Tiger Stadium tonight. Junior Pro, the 5th and 6th grade Tigers will be in action at 6 o'clock. Check that out. And then the Junior Pro Jamboree wrapping up Saturday morning. Beginning at 10 o'clock with the 3rd and 4th grade championship up at Sturgis. So check that out if you can. That's going to wrap up the show today. This is Todd Griffin. Thanks for joining us on the Sideline Report here on 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
The voice of Caldwell County. We're 1580, 103.3 WPKY, Princeton.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. The Trump campaign's adding Nevada to the list of states where it's suing over the ballot count, claiming at least 10,000 people voted who don't live there. And Republican National Committee Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel tells Fox,
Arizona still has a significant amount of ballots that are out. They were election day or close to election day ballots where the president had a significant